need to lighten up. Yeah, it's been quite a week for me, but I'm here and I'm alive and well and more grounded in principle than I've ever been before. Because I think when you have challenges in your life, that's when Ernest Holmes says that that's the time to do your best work. And what does he mean by that? That's the time to really get down and figure out who you are and what's yours to do, what's yours not to do, and to just stay grounded to know that no matter what, everything is all right. Yeah, everything is all right. And sometimes I think our topic today is it's going to take a miracle. Have you ever felt like that? I mean, come on, let's really be honest. It's going to take a miracle. And I think that we don't really realize when we say that the miracle is already happening. And it doesn't always look like we think it's supposed to look. That when things occur in our lives that seem like they're not miracles and we're waiting for a miracle, that the miracle is happening right then and right there. And as we know took a class about from Greg Braden's book that chaos is the trigger for evolution. And there's a lot of chaos right now. And we could look at it as chaos, or we could look at it as change, an opportunity. And I choose to look at it as change and opportunity, and to know that I'm in the right place at the right time with the right stuff for whatever shows up. And I know that for each and every one of you, or we wouldn't be here today in this world, ready for great changes, not just in our own life, but in the life of the planet. So when we say it's going to take a miracle, we just need to realize that, as we said last week, this is the miracle. This is the miracle. There's so much power within us and so much light within us that we could light millions of worlds, I'm sure. And scientifically, Patrick's going to talk more about that, so I'm not going to go into it, but that we've got it all here. And our job is not to get invested in the problems, but to get invested in the solutions and to be the light. Because if we get ourselves, what I found this week is as I had a challenge in my own life, as I went down into the challenge and became part of the story, I'm no good to anybody that way. So I need to stay grounded in what I know. And when we say it's going to take a miracle, it doesn't mean that we get to feel like we're going to change somebody. It doesn't even get to mean that we're going to make them well. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that we are the miracle because we have all the power within us to guide us through whatever is in front of us. And I use spiritual mind treatment. Diane just gave a beautiful spiritual mind treatment. If you don't know what it is, it's a movement of energy in the direction of whatever it is we desire in our life. And all it is a movement of consciousness. It's a movement of energy. It's not trying to change an outside condition. And when we can speak our word from that place of absolute knowing that what we're saying is the truth, miracles occur. But again, they don't always look the way we think they're going to look. But they are miracles. I trust that because there's a law of our being that's activated when we do a spiritual mind treatment. It's like what Joe Dispenza says is you send your intention out into the field and your feeling brings it back. Spiritual mind treatment, when done with feeling and conviction, is going to magnetize whatever that is back to you, depending on your belief and your level of belief. So it always works, but sometimes it looks like it's not working because it's us. It's like our level of belief. The universe is going to give back to us exactly at the level of how we conceive ourselves to be, how our belief about whatever it is going to give back. And so the goal is to keep elevating our belief. There's a book called Love and Law by Ernest Holmes where the very first line is something to the effect, all I ask of you is that you believe. That's where it all starts, that we believe. And I think that when we start to look to the outside conditions and start to believe from there, doesn't work, right? And there's a lot going on right now, and a lot of things that can make us sad. And it doesn't mean that we don't honor our feelings about stuff happening. And, you know, we're living in a human experience. We're spiritual beings living a human experience because we chose to live a human experience. And there's no better place to learn the spiritual lessons than there is, I think, in this. In this, because, yeah, there's a quote we have that we're here to prove that spiritual thought force is greater than material resistance. Does that make sense? Spiritual thought force is greater than material resistance. And the more we can anchor ourselves in that and keep the spiritual thought going, that behind everything, there's something happening. We might not know what it is, but there's something happening. And when we give a treatment or when we give a desire in a prayer or whatever, however we pray, because everybody here I'm sure is not maybe necessarily praying the same way, that we have to trust that the outcome is there. The outcome is there, and then get our hands off it, of how it's going to transpire, because we have no idea. And especially when we're praying for another person or treating for another person, and we have a conception of what that's going to look like for that person, we really don't know, and it's dangerous to think that we do, because we don't know somebody else's life. We don't know their life. But what we do know is they're always, always perfect. They're always wholeness, that our spiritual selves that never die, that always are here, that transition and continue is always wholeness and always is perfection. So like when we're treating for somebody that's ill, let's say, we don't look at the condition. We don't try to fix their bodies. We just keep seeing them and knowing them as who they are, which is the spiritual amazing energy of divine presence, God, whatever you want to call it. And it's not dualistic. It sometimes sounds that way, but we don't practice dualism in this teaching. We practice complete unity. And the sooner that we get aligned, it's like with whatever it is, however we want to live our life, when we become that thing, that energy, the feeling of that energy, then it has to manifest. But if we're treating or praying or whatever, and then we're looking out to see if it's there yet, that means that we've separated ourselves from it. I heard this too from Dr. Joe Dispenza when they do their meditations and stuff, and he said, and they come out of the meditation and they're looking to see if they're well yet. That means that they've stepped into duality and they have not become one with whatever it is. So we had a demonstration this week that it just, all of a sudden, it just clicked in. And we've been treating for it for a very, very, very long time. Treating for it. And then when time was right, and we aligned our consciousness, and the person aligned their consciousness, because they eventually have to align their consciousness too, the demonstration took place. Like a treatment is always complete, no matter, every time you do it, it's the treatment's complete, but it's not always demonstrated right away. So each treatment that you do after that, so you don't get discouraged, is just part of that same treatment, but it's just some different aspect of it. So this stuff works. It works. We know it. Those of us that have proved that spiritual thought force is greater than material resistance, even though the resistance was like, blah, 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 we know that it works. We know. All those instances that Reverend Diane talked about, they were all miracles, but it was because she believed them and she lived as them, and that's why. But she had to take a step. That's another thing. It's going to take a miracle. Well, the miracle is your decision for it. Like, you have to make a decision. Sometimes you feel like you're like going like this, and oh, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I do that, you get your pros and cons list or whatever. But eventually, you just have to make a decision. It's your best decision at that moment. You know, it doesn't mean that you won't have another decision along the line, or if it's a mistake, there is no mistake, because more than likely when you make a decision, you're learning something about something in that decision. So, but the decision is what starts to propel the miracle. So as soon as you do a decision, I'm telling you, the whole forces of the universe come in. they come in and they carry you through whatever that is. And but until you make a decision, nothing can happen. And sometimes we're waiting for something to look good on the outside before we make the decision, and that's not the way it works. It works from the unseen to the seen, and no other way. And the unseen and the seen are one thing. We're no longer separate. And to me, that is a big miracle. It's a big miracle. We've got it all. We know that we do. And I think it's powerful. So, yeah, last week we defined a miracle as an effect or extraordinary event in the physical world that surpasses all known human or natural powers and is ascribed to a supernatural cause. This is it, though. It's not something outside of ourselves. It's a supernatural cause, which is us. We're the cause in our life. So, yeah, that's a good definition. But extraordinary event in the physical world that surpasses all known human and natural powers. But yeah, human and natural powers, things that you're stuck in the world of form trying to change it there. Yeah, but as soon as you step into spirit, you are supernatural. You are. That's what we are. We're supernatural. So we don't have to go anywhere else to be supernatural. We are. So the question is, do we believe it? That's a big thing. Do we believe it? I think if we have to do anything, we have to work on our belief. At least I know for myself, when something's not turning up, I'm going, do I really believe this? Yes, I do. I believe it. I don't have any other choice but to believe it. I know it's true, because I know this other thing couldn't be my reality, because I don't want to live in that reality. And the other thing is we have to be willing to change. If there's something in our life that we have to change, and that's difficult sometimes for people to know that they have to make a change in order for them to have miraculous events happen in their life. They got to make a change, and usually that change is a mental change. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical change, but it's definitely a mental change, or definitely a mental change. So it's going to take a miracle. You are the miracle, and if we can let go of our past and not let it dictate to us what we are now, because the principle of this presence and this power that we're talking about is not bound by the past. We're the ones that are bound by the past. And if that happened to me this week, it's like all of a sudden all my past started coming up. I thought I was over it. And it just started coming up, just to go bam in my face and let me know that I hadn't gotten over it, you know what I mean? But then I have to say, yes, I have. That is not me anymore. This is who I am right now and right here. And I have to let go of that, forgive whatever needed to be forgiven, let it go. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's pretty, I don't want to say normal, but it can easily happen where all of a sudden we think we're doing really great, and then all of a sudden something comes to pull us back. But I think, it's kind of like this line from The Godfather. What is it? First one I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Something like that. We don't want to be Al Pacino or whoever that was. But yeah, so if that happens, like you feel pulled back to your past for some reason, it's usually, I think, a movement forward, because you have to become stronger to get through that being pulled through the past. You have to continue. You have to remember all the things that we talk about here, all those things that you are the presence of God, you are the life force, you are the light, you are the energy, you are the source, and it's all happening right now in the present moment. There is no past. Does that mean it's like you can learn from the past, and then it becomes wisdom, but you don't want to hang on to the emotions of the past. That's what happened to me all of a sudden, the emotions of the past. Then I have to go back, ask somebody to treat me for me if I can't, and then realize that that's the past, and it was a great story, but I don't have to be emotionally attached to it. So you are the miracle. You've got everything within you, everything. 50 trillion cells. Their only purpose is life. That's their only purpose in our bodies, is to bring life and to be life. They're here. And to me, that's God. And it's moving through each and every one of us all the time. So Namaste. Have a beautiful week.